Hey, it's Biddy Penny. Welcome back to my channel. Today, you guys, I have a very special card that I want to share with you guys. I used a lot of Tim Holtz products. This one's a little bit older. It's called Day of the Dead, I believe. And it's this really cute couple. I mean, if you like this theme, they're cute. But I absolutely adore them. I have to admit, this is the first time I'm using them. This is one of Tim Holtz' colorized sets, and this is back when he made it with lots of pieces, but he at least put all the little bitties together, which was really nice. And if you didn't know, sometimes there can be a mystery piece. If you turn it over, it tells you, like this one goes to the male and it's the white piece, so then you can look at the color guide and you're like, oh, that's his shirt. Of course it is. But there's also like embossing. So each piece, so that's the male in orange, that's the top of his hat. Each piece is labeled. So that really, really helps a lot. I did my colors slightly different. I just wanted to use colors I wanted to use, but I did follow the guide to put everything together. And I just think these are fabulous. So here I'm going to put together a little bit of this female here with you, and I'll talk a little bit about this card. So this was a labor of love. It took me 3 hours to make this card. Now, I wasn't rushing. It wasn't like I was really speeding through this. I was wanting to set up my desk. I was wanting to make the vision that I had for this card. So it was kind of funny. The night before I made this card, my husband was like, I know you've been making a lot of Day of the Dead journals. Do you happen to have a wedding card that we could take to this wedding today? Yes, same day or next day. And I was like, no. But in the morning, I woke up extra early, 5 a.m. wake up, and I started on this card, and I was able to get it done before we went to the wedding that day. And I absolutely love it. And it's really fun because this couple that we're making this for, they got married in October. They had a Till Death Do Us party themed reception. And they were engaged in Mexico and had been to Mexico a number of times together. And so I just thought this was all kind of perfect. And once I had a vision, I didn't mind spending the time just making this card come to life. I do really enjoy card making like this. Where I use all of the things and do all of the things. So the first part of this video, I'm showing you, obviously, the part that is really a lot of die cuts and assembly. This is, to me, like putting a puzzle together, which I really enjoy puzzles. Sparkle Heart, my daughter, and I put a lot of puzzles together. It's kind of our thing. So at least a couple of nights a week, she and I will play a game or put together a puzzle. It's just a way that we find to spend time to each other, to talk to each other, to be connected. And so, I don't mind intricate die pieces. They're not something I want to do all the time. Because I am a fast crafter and I do like to make like big projects like journals and books or lots and lots of cards for donation, things like that. So, it's just when the time calls for it. So I'm following the embossed parts on these dies. Another company that does this is Scrappy Tails, and I really appreciate it. They have a lot of detailed dies, but they emboss the pieces so you can easily see where the pieces go. And there we have it. Now I went ahead because I had all my pieces separated. I put them in different little baggies and then I put them all together in the big baggie. And that's how I'm going to store them. So now I don't have to separate them every time I use them. And I wanted to show you guys that. I also have a lot of scraps left over. And so instead of having to dig through my stash next time to find lots of colors, I decided to just put all of those in my Sizzix envelope. Here's some other products that I'm using. I mean, I really wasn't trying to make this like a Tim Holtz video by any means. I'm not on his design team, so why would I? And I'm not like brand loyal like that. When I'm making something, I'm going to use anything and everything in my stash. But it just so happens that all of his stuff was perfect and exactly what I wanted for this card. I did get this from the Halloween release. It was the only die set I bought this year, but I love the moon and use the moon a lot. So, you know, if you invest in pieces that you're going to use over and over and over again, it brings down that cost per use, if you even think of your supplies in that way. And so I knew I would use the moon over and over again. So that's what my little guy is going to be sitting on. Then I have that die plate in the top. It says to the moon and back. I also got this stencil because I'm a dreamer. I love the stars. I love the moon. I love the whole idea of all that. So I'm going to emboss my background. First using that embossing buddy, that static release powder tool. And then I'm going to use my Tim Holtz embossing ink that's in a dauber. I absolutely love this way of being able to apply embossing ink to my projects. The dauber is revolutionary. I always say that Tim Holtz knows what we need before we do, and I love this tool so much. So now I'm going to emboss this with actually a glaze. So I'm using, I believe this is fossilized amber embossing glaze. And I like the glaze. Like in this application, you're not getting like the full gamut of what this embossing glaze can do, but I like it because it's very shiny. But what's cool about the glaze is it's also transparent. It's not opaque like most embossing powders. But in this application, you can't really tell that. I'm using Wilted Violet and Uncharted Mariner here. And then on the very outside of the edges, I'm going to use that, I think it's Chip Sapphire, that Distress ink. It's not an oxide, it's an ink, so it's a little darker. You do have to change up your brushes. I mean, I think it's best definitely to use different brushes between the Distress inks and the Distress oxides. I mixed them one time and I did not like the results. So I do keep a separate set of brushes for this. So I'm just ink blending all around. I'm wanting to create, you know, some drama in the sky here. My characters are definitely all just kind of starbound and up in the stars and among the stars and the moon. And I spritz that with water. The more saturated you get with your distress ink, the more like vivid results you'll get from distressing it with water, like with spritzes of water, which is exactly what I wanted. So I'm drying all of this back. This is one of those backgrounds that takes a little while longer because there's a number of times that you have to stop and dry things or melt things to get all the layers, but I do think it's definitely worth it. So once I had that completely dried, then I went in with two different colors of Perfect Pearls. I have like this iridescent white and then like a copper. And so I'm just going to spritz these all around the background as well. I wanted it very starry, very astral. I hope you guys are doing well today. I have another video I'm going to try to get out. I've been on vacation. Sorry, last week I think I had one video up, which is not normal, but totally fine. I went on vacation and I did not have internet service for days upon days. So I had taken my equipment to do editing and I didn't get to. So that's what happened. I have lots of videos recorded and ready for you guys. They're just not up yet. So you're going to get two videos today. You're going to get a card video and a junk journal video. All right, so here I am going back now and wiping off all of these stars that I had embossed to make them shine again and brighten them up. The great thing about choosing like an embossing powder for that stencil is that you can do this. Where if I had used ink, I wouldn't be able to go back and brighten up those stars, but the embossing powder resists the distress ink. So now I am just taking some of the tack off of this tape. I don't want to mess up my background, but I ran that through my die cutting machine and now I'm poking out all the pieces, and I want all the little bitty pieces because what I'm going to do is add back in like the centers to the O's, the B, and the A, so that I can, you can clearly see the lettering and what it says. So like this little A, I'm going to keep that teeny tiny little piece. Don't lose it, Bitty Penny. And I have my moon die cut. I'm just adding a little bit of yellow, and then I'll add a bit of shadow to it as well with my distress ink. I don't know. I don't think I've found the perfect way to color this moon yet. I haven't quite nailed it, I wouldn't say, but I mean, every time the results are fine. I just don't think I've really mastered the moon yet. It is a new die to me. I've only used it like 2 or 3 other times, or on 2 or 3 other cards that you guys haven't seen yet. This will be my last day, as well as posting Day of the Dead content, but it was what we chose this year instead of Halloween as a family and here on my channel. So, it's coming up on November 2nd, and I have a couple of design team videos that will come out tomorrow and on November 2nd. So I'm just going to cram all this in here at the end. I wanted her to be dancing on a star, so I went to my stash and I have these awesome TLC star dies, and I just grabbed one of the little ones. Actually, I ended up die cutting all of these because I like them so much. I just didn't use them all in my card. I really love these dies, and if you haven't checked out TLC, they have really affordable products, especially their dies, and lots of very unique designs that you just don't see everywhere. I'm going back in with my distress ink here. This is Black Soot, and again, I'm just adding some drama to the outside edge of this panel. I meant to do it before I wiped off the stars, but it was funny. My husband kept coming by my craft room like, "Are you still working on a card?" He said, "I almost feel bad for even mentioning it." I was like, "No, I mean, I'm having fun and getting it done, so it's totally fine." So the card I am making today is a 5x7. And we stopped by and got a really pretty frame for this to go into, and gifted it along with the card and with another gift. So, that's the other reason I don't mind spending like 3 hours on this, because really this is a little mixed media artwork. As much as it is a greeting card, it's more like, by the time I'm done with it, it looks so good in a frame. I love it. And it's like a little memento that they can keep and put up somewhere in their home. It's not going to take up a ton of space, but they'll have a little memento from their wedding day. And so that's another reason I just really don't mind going the extra mile and spending, extra time making something like this. Plus, it's just fun to get a vision, an artistic vision for something, and actually have the ability and tools to make it happen. You know, there's been art forms in the past that I've really wanted to try, and I get a great big vision of something I want to create, and then I don't have the skill set or I don't have the tools to pull it off. And I think that's one of the things I love about card making, journaling, like junk journaling and paper crafting, is that I can pull it off. And I can't do that in all art forms. And I have a good time. Like, I enjoyed every minute of making this card. So I just glued everything down, and you can tell like all those little bitty pieces, especially in the B and the A, really help. And I put that on a highly reflective mirror cardstock from Tonic Studios. I'd had it in my stash for ages, and it's different than like a lot of metallic papers. Like, it really is the most highly reflective I've ever used or ever seen. It's one of their specialty cardstocks. So now I'm going to glue everything down. I do end up sneaking some foam pieces behind him to elevate the guitar and the little serenading groom there, just so that he's even with the moon. And then I just glue her completely down. She doesn't need any foam or anything like that. I also decked out the inside of this card. That was, another aspect of it taking a while was, making this card a piece that is frameable art, as well as, doing the inside and everything. While I was working on my card, this came to my front door. Thank you, Amazon. And it's a teeny tiny little trimmer from We Are Memory Keepers. The jury's still out on this, on how much I like it. It was $11. And I kind of just want something tiny on my desk like this when I just need to take a little something off here or there, mainly in my junk journaling. But I don't always cut a straight line. And so I just kind of wanted something little and tiny that can be conveniently stored on my desk. And I can just trim things up like this, like a sentiment or whatever. I will say it's like takes time getting used to how to trim on this without like, I don't know. I had some issues with my paper. You can tell here it's going to take me a minute to really figure out this little trimmer, even though, I mean, it's not like high tech or anything. It just, figuring out which way the blade cuts the best and which papers it works the best on and exactly where it cuts, things like that. But I think I'm going to like it, and I think it's going to serve me well for what I wanted it to do. At least I hope so. We will see. So I customized a sentiment for this couple and for this card on my printer. I'm just showing y'all the blade there. And so that's what I trimmed it out to. I have another couple of Tim Holtz stamp sets that I used here and stamped them out. One is a borders, and it has all different kinds of borders. So I used two different ones, and then another Day of the Dead themed stamp set, which this stamp set might have come out the same year as the dies. I really am not sure. I've had it in my stash for a couple of years. I use it every single year. It was well worth the investment. I have made a number of things with this stamp set. So the sentiment says, "From Texas to Mexico to the moon and back, we wish you an eternal or an everlasting love." And then here are the stars that she was dancing on the cover. And I decided I had die cut a number of those out and decided to bring them and incorporate them into the inside of the card. I'm so glad I did. It just gave it that pop of color. So here is the card itself, and I just love it so much, you guys. I think it is beautiful. It's so texturized. It's so customized, and It personally fits the couple that I made it for. Here's how I decorated the back. And then I had to make an envelope for it, of course. So I used some patterned paper and I cut out my own envelope, and then I glued the pom-poms to it, and then I put marigolds on it. I used Velcro to keep it shut. And then that little sheet of paper said, this is not just a greeting card, but it's also a mixed media work of art. You can frame it and hang it in your home. So that will explain the frame. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll see you next time. Bye.